Hi there, thanks for joining me again on the second video on the subject of Aspergers. On the first video I touched on me realising that I probably did have Aspergers, and certainly didn't recognise this fact until I was in my 40s, and that prior to that, all the many years before, I simply felt like I didn't fit in, like I didn't get it. A triangle in a round hole, as I often describe it. Like others had been given the handbook to life, and I seemed to struggle with what I consider everyday situations. We spoke about also the different traits, a little of Asperger's, and the fact that there are so many different people with different degrees of Asperger's, and you'll never find two the same, and that's absolutely okay. But just recognising in yourself what works for you, what makes you happy and safe, and to stop punishing yourself for things that perhaps you had been punishing yourself for. And I spoke in my last video about how I felt as a child at school, and how I found solace doing hobbies. And losing myself in projects for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours on it. And so here we are in the second video. And I just like to also just clarify that this isn't me telling you what's right or wrong. And this isn't about being judgmental towards others or not. This is just simply my thoughts on myself and what I have gone through. And if it helps anybody else to recognise similar thoughts, feelings, and if it helps in any way, I know I would find that comforting. So in this video I just want to really talk about the years that came about when I was finishing school, and literally there were so many of the people in my class and around that were planning on going to university, or others that were writing to get job interviews, and all of that filled me with absolute fear. Not because I didn't think I was capable. Academically I knew that I could probably get A levels, and I explored many times the Open University, because I simply thought, well, if I can sit in a room and just do a few assignments and send them off in the solitude of my own company, and I wouldn't have to interact, be with people and feel frightened and nervous. I think I may have even started a few. And then there was the prospect of interviews, and it wasn't just about the interview. I had friends that struggled to write their CVs and their letters, and that side of it to me came very easy. I enjoyed writing about myself in the CV and telling a story and putting it across and hoping to win people over, I guess. And then if I got a letter in the post back, I used to enjoy getting the post back, whether it be for an interview or not. And to be honest, more often it was to be invited for an interview, and that's where my problems would start, because I would literally start worrying. One, in the letter it would probably say, could I phone up to confirm the interview? So then I would have to battle with my fears of having to phone up and socially interact, and I never really knew, and sometimes struggle with now on a telephone, knowing when to talk and when to shut up, which surprises me, because one of the jobs I did years ago was actually to be a temping receptionist, so I had to go in. I don't know really how I got through that, apart from I always push myself to try and break through these barriers of fear, but literally it felt like I was at war most days. And then it would be, how am I going to get to the interview? In those days I didn't drive, so I'd have the complete worry of, if I waited for the bus, would the bus turn up? Would the bus stop? Would it go past? Then getting on it, where would I sit? What if someone sat next to me? Would I be able to get off? Everything was just, every moment was heightened and magnified hugely, that it felt like I was going to have to climb over these huge fences even to get to the interview. And then when I was at the interview, if it was something to do with a group, I would absolutely hate it, and I would be a complete introvert. And often with those interviews, I didn't pass the next stage. I knew I could do the job, and I knew I could do the job well, but I just didn't know how to portray that. And I felt intimidated, I felt awkward, tearful. I just wanted to run back to the safety of my home. If it was a one-on-one, I would feel naturally nervous to start with, but once I was in there, I felt much better in that situation. I'd overcome all the hurdles of getting there, and once I was just in a room, having to talk about myself, I think managed to get through that, not with particularly good eye contact, I would say, and that's still something I struggle with today, eye contact. I'm very aware of it, and if you're aware of it, it makes you even worse at it, I think. So while I had friends that were wanting to go to university, I knew that definitely wasn't for me, to go through the whole process of being in classrooms again, and the noise and the clatter and the people and the whole social interaction. I knew that wasn't for me, so I knew I had to get a job. And so I did push through the barriers to office junior jobs, sales jobs. I did learn to answer the telephone, and I probably had one of the tidiest desks, I think. Take it back. very much my routine of making sure that I had my cup of tea when, certain times, my same food, the same lunch every single day, which is something I still do now. Very much the routine. I like the same time to have a break, or my lunch predominantly, and it was very much the same then, just to get through having jobs. But I did find them very difficult to stick at because, as I say, every day was like going into battle, and it was exhausting. And if I saw a window of opportunity where I could just retreat back to the safety of my bedroom, perhaps, to plan or write stories or do poems or think, what business could I start on my own that I could always be on my own, but I could be really successful at? And that used to really inspire me and keep me happy. And my cats. I did have, a few friends around that time, and as I was getting older, I was going out a little bit and growing, I suppose, more into my skin. Still very, very conscious, though, of what people thought of me. And I'd always feel that everyone was looking at me or judging me or commenting. Sometimes perhaps it maybe was for a positive reasons, but I always felt like it was negative. I suppose that's a bit of paranoia, I'm not sure. And I found myself a couple of years into my working life of being at work and not quite a lot. An opportunity arose to work in a design studio, which I did really enjoy because I could just sit at my board and create visuals and artwork and cut them out and stick, and use the dark room for photographic work. So there was a lot of solitude in that work, which I did enjoy. But I always had an inkling also to go out into the big wide world slightly more, to see what was out there. And I was attracted by the fashion industry and the modelling industry. And we had some photographers that used to come into the studio. And on one occasion they needed a hand model to hold some vitamin packages for some photography work they were doing, and they didn't have somebody, and they asked me whether I'd be interested. And of course I was a little bit excited that I'd be doing something different, a little bit flattered that they wanted me to do some hand modelling, and then, as everything does in my mind, suddenly I'm from being a hand model, in my mind I'd suddenly gone to be an international top model. My mind accelerated into what if. But then equally it was, but then what if, and how am I going to get through that, and what if, and how am I going to, and how am I going to, and how am I going to, and how am I going to. And there's lots of hurdles ahead of me, but I did do the hand modelling, and then they did ask whether I wanted to do some other work, and then another photographer approached me to do some photographic work, which I did. And actually being in front of the camera and sort of the one-to-one situation, I didn't mind. I did go to London a couple of times to modelling school, Judy James modelling school, which again scared the life out of me because I was in a situation I was having to interact and almost make friends and put myself out there. We were put together and I felt inferior to the other girls and intimidated. In myself I knew that I was probably okay. I did the course and we did the catwalk at the end and everything, and it was fine. I enjoyed it and I wanted more, but I just always ran back to the safety of myself and felt that my success would lie within me, my own business, and so I did pursue different avenues for a while. Later on though, because of my interest in the modelling, I did decide to start my own model agency up for a while, and I thought to myself, well, I can recruit people that I think would work, and there wasn't really an agency in the area that I was living at the time, and I knew how some of these girls would be feeling, or the guys, and just to arrange photographic shoots for them. I thought, well, I can do that. But again, I was pushing my boundaries, and the years prior to that had been hard years with one thing or another. I had been married and I was having anxiety problems, and I'd started another business up previous to that, and was going through a very dark time after having my daughter, forgetting the problems of interacting and doing what you should be doing, not what I wanted to do, and was retreating back. So I think I finally got on to opening a model agency. I almost did it half-heartedly and then just left it and retreated again. I've done a lot of retreating, but always put myself back out there. And I think, when I started my own businesses, it was because I had belief in myself, and I've always had belief in myself. And if that's one thing I want to share with anybody that thinks they may have Aspergers, is never stop believing in yourself, never stop following what you want to do, never stop doing what makes you happy. And I certainly have dabbled from job to job, or career to career, or business to business. But I've always been the nucleus of whatever has made me happy in terms of my creative side or my ambitions, and hence now my writing, as well as my business that I run at the moment, which is what I'm going to talk about a little bit in my third video. So I think I'll leave it there. I just want to say again, thank you for joining me. It's a subject that I'm pleased is being made more aware, but needs so much more awareness for everyone to know that it's just okay just to be yourself and to do whatever gets you through your day and keeps you happy and keeps you safe. So, thanks very much. If you've missed the first one, you'll find it on this channel, and I look forward to us spending some more time together in the third video. Take care. Thanks very much.